If this is you, you're going to be obsessed with this episode. You feel like you've lost your mojo a bit. You would love to get your sexy back. You're kind of missing that zest for life. You've kind of gotten beaten down by life circumstances, relationships, adulting, all the heaviness that's going on in the world. And you just want to feel like light and bright and expansive and vibey. And then you start telling yourself, maybe I can't look that way or feel that way anymore because I'm not 25. I have had children. I've gone through divorces. I have had this health situation. I've done this thing. So I just have to like accept where I'm at and this is part of life. Well, honey, we are not accepting 50% of what you can be. We are no longer going to settle for operating at a half tank. Fuck that. It's time to resurrect. It's time to rise. It's time to regroup. And it is time to reclaim your vibrancy for life. And I want to be clear, my guest that I'm having on today, Jodi Harrison Bauer, she is a 63-year-old Sports Illustrated model. She's a longtime fitness expert. She has a great podcast called Fearlessly Authentic. She helps women get hot and healthy as they age. And don't for a second go, 63, like I'm not there yet, or I'm past there, or this is crazy. You have to go see a visual of this woman. This is not normal. And you can easily go, our egos make up all sorts of things. Oh, she's genetically gifted. She's this and that. You can make up all the stories you want. We're talking about way more than like how someone just looks physically. It's the actual ownership of reclaiming your health and vibrancy, that you are worthy of feeling your best. You're worthy of feeling alive and excited about life. And you're just as worthy as you are of having wealth. That's why I always say at the end of each episode, wishing you great health, wealth, and worth. That's the cornerstone of it all. But it starts with you saying, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to reclaim this for myself. I've been kind of settling for less and making stories and making excuses because I've tried so many things and it feels so hard. And I don't know if something's going to work and I really don't have it in me to try more. And then your brain makes up that you're going to have to eat like boiled chicken and broccoli if in order for you to feel better, in order for you to have your energy back. And it's all noise. How about the fact that you can reclaim your vibrancy for life, your energy for life at any given time, and it doesn't have to be so damn hard. In fact, we can make it fun. And you are going to get a great head start with that today with Jodi. She's someone who I've also privately coached. And, she'll say on here, she has her own bugaboos, right? She has other areas of her life that are sticking points. But what does she do? She invests in getting help in the areas that she's stuck in. And people invest in working with her in the areas they get stuck in. Do you see what I'm saying? Instead of just staying stuck in it and settling in it, we make a move. And this is time for you to make your move. That's why I'm calling it Money Moves May. In any area of your life, let's go. Let's reclaim it. Time is not refundable. Let's get back into the game of life, baby. If you're tired of hearing the same old basic mindset and motivational fluff talk, you've come to the right show. Welcome to Project Me with Tiffany Carter, the podcast, where we dish on everything from managing that crazy brain of yours to manifesting abundance to my straightforward, actionable steps that will make you major money online. Now, I'm not your typical multimillionaire entrepreneur. It takes a small village to keep my anxiety and depression in check. I'm inherently disorganized with an intense obsession with office supplies. Your girl here is a digital marketing content expert who's generated over $200 million in sales. I promise by tuning in twice a week, you will get a much needed refreshing dose of truth, clarity, and cash making advice. Now let's get to it. What up, my people, my posses, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your mindset, your abundance, and everything in between. We have on someone who I've personally coached, who I feel is such a refreshing dose of honesty for women and for women who are in that next season of their life. And there's something messed up in society where once a woman, I don't even know what the age marker is. Sadly, I think it's 40. It's like once you hit like a certain age, it's considered not sexy, not hot. Women feel invisible. Then the wheels start coming off the bus because, you age can do that. And you have to do a lot more to be in the game of life, to look hot. There's a lot more that has to go on. And then you have a lot more responsibilities. And then you're not getting like the external validation. And then it just spirals from there. And Jodi, you are the truly, it makes me want to cry because there are so few people doing this and you're so genuine about it. You don't have an angle with it. And most
Mm-mm.
people have an angle, right? They're like, buy my hormone supplements, like
Right.
that's not your angle. You genuinely are like, I promise you, take my hand. And this gets to be, in fact, the best chapter of your life, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, when I decided to really share my life with people on social media, I didn't have a plan. I didn't have anything. I didn't have a, not a point, but I just wanted to share what was going on in my life and what has worked for me and what has worked for the clients that I've worked with for 35 years. And sometimes it comes out really good and sometimes it doesn't, but it's who I am. And it could be sharing anything about my life that I'm hoping will help to empower women because after 40, as you said, women start thinking about, oh, I'm moving a little slower. I'm gaining weight. I'm not feeling great about myself. I need a do-over. When is that going to ever happen for me? And the truth is that we are like cars that need to be taken care of. And sometimes we need to just go back for a checkup. And that's what I'm here to remind women to do is just to not be hard on themselves and to really embrace who they are. I know that sounds really corny. I know that sounds really hard. I try to do it every single day, but really embrace themselves for who they are and not who they're trying to be. The worst thing that we can do is try to be somebody that we are not. Believe me, I've done it and it
Kind of
doesn't
like
work.
I'm like someone trying to be the person or the how they looked or felt when they were 30 versus being the best version of themselves of who they are today.
Right, exactly. We can't go back in time. And all we can do is, I think the most important thing that a woman could do at any age is really be very self-aware of who she is, what she's about, morals, her outlook. What does she want to do in this world? And the more self-aware she can become, the more she can tweak things, improve on things, pull things back. I know for me, after I got divorced at 42, I had no other choice but to become very self-aware because I was in like la la land. Up until I got divorced, everything was always kind of taken care of for me. Yes, I trained my clients, I took care of my children, but you know, I didn't really have to be all that self-aware. I had some awareness. I'm not saying I was really like la la out there, but I had to dig my heels in and figure out who I was and who I wanted to become for myself and for my daughters.
When you were single again and you were in your 40s, what kind of like mindset trash came up for
Mm.
you? I mean, because my guess is not knowing you, and at that age and knowing you now, you're hot now. My guess is you were hot then. I mean, so I could make the assumption as an outsider, you're genetically blessed, you're stunning, you're fun. You probably were like, okay, yes, I went through a divorce, but like I'm a hot commodity. Like, was your confidence popping? Like, what happened?
Okay, so I would not have ever considered myself hot. Nobody ever called me hot in my 30s. I was in the best shape of my life in my 30s. That was my goal, was after I had my first daughter in 89, had two consecutive miscarriages, and then I had my youngest in 93. And after that, I knew we were done and I wanted to get into the best shape of my life. I had very, very short hair, like Sharon Stone hair, and I didn't wear sexy clothes. I wore short. I mean, the things that you see moms wearing in the 90s, that's how I dressed. But I didn't
A lot of the
dress,
90s fashion, you
it was
guys, that they're
horrible.
this shit that some of the shit they're bringing back, this is not
Mom
attractive.
jeans. No, I didn't. No, it was horrible. It was horrible. I had permed hair. So I did let my hair grow a little bit before I cut it really, really short. But yeah, nobody would have ever said I was hot. There was nothing hot about me. I was very, very fit. I was very fit. I was very involved in the community. I was a great mom. Yeah, no, and nobody, yeah, no, I
So
wouldn't
when
even
you
look.
were out on, so
I
to
guess I was
speak, like
pretty. I don't know.
when you were out on like the scene again, so to speak, were you like, did you have stuff come up like, well, I mean, it's not like I'm 25, like I'm a mom of two, I'm over 40. Like, did you have that kind of stuff going on in your head?
No, no, it was so weird. No, I'm very strange. Um, so when I got divorced, my self-esteem was nowhere to be found. My self-confidence was nowhere to be found. All I knew, again, was that I was a really good mom, and then I had to amp up my mom even more now that I was a single mom. Dad was very involved in the children's lives, but I they were with me 80% of the time. So I had to figure out what was important to me being a mom. So I was identified myself as a mom and fitness. Those were the things that I identified with. I never thought of myself as, I mean, people told me my whole life I was pretty, so I guess I thought I was pretty. I don't know. I don't really remember looking in the mirror and go, oh, I'm pretty. I don't even remember thinking that about me, myself. And so I remember I had nothing to lose. I had everything to gain because I had no self confidence. I had no self esteem. I didn't know who the hell I was. So going out on a date, I was letting my hair grow, and I did allow myself to like wear something a little sexier. And I just put myself out there because I had literally nothing to lose. I wasn't looking to fall in love. What I was looking for was to have a lot of sex.
Oh my God, I'm dying. I love it.
I was looking for I just want to have fun. I didn't want a relationship. I had been with my ex-husband since I was 23. Now I'm 42. I want to have fun. I don't want anything serious. I'm raising my daughters. I don't need anybody moving into my house with me and suggesting how I raised my children. Plus, if I did, I would lose my alimony. So I didn't do that anyway. It all worked out fine. But yeah, I just put myself out there and started to grow. What I did was I started growing into the woman that I saw ahead of me. Like I saw this woman that I wanted to become. So I started becoming her. It was through.
How did that look? Because I know so many people are in that spot, and then you hear people talking about the same shit with like confidence and all this stuff. But it's like,
Mhm.
how do you start taking action towards growing into the person truly you were meant to be all along when you're in such a low spot emotionally? I'm interrupting this riveting interview for something that you need to hear right now, today, at this very minute. If you are in a spot where you are doing everything and you're pouring in more and you're doing more, but you don't have more really in you, You don't have more to give, but you're not getting the results that you want in your business, in your bank account. And you know that if something is missing and you're chewing on it, you're over analyzing it, you're overthinking it, you're researching it, and you just can't figure it out. You've got to get out of self will and you have to make a move in order to have someone show you the way. You are making it harder than it needs to be by trying to figure this out on your own. So I have a dynamic duo just for you, just for May, for Money Moves May. You're going to do my Make More Work Less Money course because if we're not managing the brain and all of that stuff that's holding you back, all the strategy I teach you, you'll either procrastinate on it, you'll avoid it, you won't do it, or you will subconsciously self-sabotage it. And my ProjectME Posse business coaching membership, we probably have about 3 new member spots left. You'll have to go check on the page at the time of this recording. If it says it's full, then I would check back every week to see if there's a spot that's open. You can go to projectmewithtiffany.com/projectme posse for my Make More Work Less Money course. It's projectmewithtiffany.com/make more work less. All of the links are inside of the show notes on any of the platforms and in the description on YouTube, as well as being able to connect with our guest on the show today. Let's get back to the interview.
Who did I want to, how did I pick myself up from there?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really know. I've always been a goal-oriented person and a person who needed to have my ducks in a row before I jumped. I'm not spontaneous. It took me like 3 years to finally get the guts to divorce my ex-husband. And of course, he was an attorney and a forensic accountant. So like the worst person in the world to ever divorce. Like he knows how to hide things. I'm not saying he did, but it's been 22 years. It was like David and Goliath, right? And so again, I was as low as you could possibly be, but having my daughters was a big push, a big kick in my ass to just do the job, do the job, get the job done. Jodi, you have a job. You're a mom. Figure out who you want to be. You are a mom right now, and that is the most important role that you have. And that is what having my 2 little girls staring at me is what pushed me to become strong, fierce, disciplined, resilient. I had no other choice. I was down low. I didn't have any friends that supported me. All of my friends, 99% of them stopped being friends with me, didn't like the new Jodi, didn't like that maybe they felt, I'm thinking this right now, maybe they felt like I was deserting them when I divorced him. I don't know, but they stayed friends with him because he got a girlfriend right away, of course. So I didn't want that. I didn't want to be in a relationship. It was like the first time I really started stepping into my truth and my power and embracing truly who I was and who I was going to be.
I can relate to that, even though my circumstances are different. I don't have kids. But when you are around a lot of people where most of them are coupled up and now you are single and doing work on yourself, really focused on like stepping into the best version of you, and people can feel that energy. I stopped getting invited. No one wanted me to come around. Like, what was I going to take their husband? Like, I'm
Right.
not that girl. Like, I have major girl code. That's the last thing I would do. I don't even give off that vibe. But I wasn't getting invited. It was like I didn't fit in, but don't you think it was also you didn't fit in because that was the old you? How could you
I,
have fit in?
I couldn't fit in. That was the whole thing. And you know what, Tiffany, I tried. So I wasn't being invited to couple events anymore, but I belonged to a birthday group. We started this when I was maybe in my mid 30s. And so we would go, there were maybe 7 or 8 women in the group. We all were in the same play group from the time the kids were really little. And then we started a birthday group once the kids got into school. So we celebrated everybody's birthday. It was lunch, so we wouldn't disturb everything at nighttime because the kids had homework and so on. So we usually did it during the day. And as the kids got older, we started doing it at night. And I continued with that. And as a way for me to stay connected to the ladies, I accepted the fact that I wasn't going to be invited to couple events. But now I could hopefully maintain my relationship with the women in the group that I had a long-standing relationship with. And they talked about me behind my back. I found out from one of the friends. They would be really curious about my dating life, but then talk trash about me behind my back. And during that time, 6 months after I got divorced, I had a boob job. And it's not like I went from like an A to a double D. I went from a B to a C. Okay. And what happened was I was still living in the house and so on, and went out for dinner with the ladies. And one of the women said to me, again with the boobs. And I looked at her, and because there were a lot of comments about the fact that I had gotten a boob job, because they were all still married. We were living in suburbia in Connecticut. Okay. So we're talking buttoned up women,
Conservative.
very conservative women. And this was a couple of comments were made previously to this, but this one had a big mouth. And she said that to me. I started to cry. I ran into the bathroom and I told my closest friend, who's still a friend of mine now, I said, I can't do this anymore. I don't fit in anymore. And I stepped out of the group. And that was really sad for me. But as you said, I wasn't that Jodi anymore. And I wasn't going to shove myself in that peg again, in that box again, just so they could pet me and be nice to me because I didn't make them feel uncomfortable. Now I was making them feel uncomfortable because I was growing at meteoric speed, at very fast. I was, and they weren't. And I couldn't do anything about that. That was just who I wanted to be.
It's really tough to let go of people, places, and things that we have outgrown
Mm.
because then it's that period of aloneness.
Yeah.
And you have to trust that you being happy with your own company, and trusting that the right people for your next, season will come in. But it can feel really lonely during that time.
It was lonely and yeah, it was very, 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 very lonely. And, but it gave me the opportunity again to dig deep into myself. Why am I feeling this way? What do I need to change? Now, I might have not asked myself those questions, but I was taking the action towards them. So I started working more hours because I was working very, very part-time before the divorce. So now the girls are in school full-time. Now I could work more hours as a trainer, as a fitness instructor, as a coach. So that gave me an outlet to meet new people. Now I was bringing in new people into my life that respected what I had to say, who loved me for who I was and the relationship that we had. And from there, I decided I had to trust my heart. I had to trust the direction I was going in. And I just continued to follow my heart and my gut to things that felt aligned with me. And if you talk to the Jodi in her 30s, she would have never been able to understand any of that.
Yeah. Some of the stuff that I say and do now, if I said that to, like, I call her Tiffany 1.0, I would have listened, but I kind of would have like gone, yeah, yeah, and like blown it off. Because it was just too big of a concept to really comprehend. When you are looking at other women, whether it's women in, your podcast audience, the women in your social media audience that come to you with a question or they're coming to you with a struggle, what are some of the most common things that these women are coming to you with who are over 40?
Oh, yeah. Most of them are struggling with their body changing and not just, weight gain. It's just like, did an alien take over my body? Who am I now? This is not the way I used to feel in my body. energy slowing down? Those are the two biggest questions I get asked is, what do I eat? And what do I do about the lack of energy? And that happens as we age because maybe we're not as active as we used to be. Maybe we stopped eating the foods that give us energy. And yes, hormonal changes are a real thing. Your hormones are unbalanced, and that is affecting your metabolism, your energy levels. So what we need to do is work even harder than we did when we were in our 30s or early 40s, where our hormones were more balanced. Because in our 20s, 30s, and 40s, early 40s, our bodies are primed. If we don't have any other health issues, our bodies are primed to make babies.
Yeah.
That's what we're there for. We're supposed to make babies, which is why so many women in their 20s say, oh, I never want children. They hit 30. It's insane. They hit 30 and like, baby, I want a baby. I want a baby. I want a baby.
Except for
Because
me.
right, except for you. But instinctively, women want to have a baby, and that's when they're prime because their hormones are balanced, which is also prime muscle building time. If you're in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, and you have not had any perimenopausal symptoms such as irregular periods or heavy bleeding or no bleeding or anything that seems different for you, get your hormone levels checked. Get a full blood panel so you know what your optimal hormone levels are. So when you hit my age, you already have those optimal hormone levels and you don't go bankrupt like I did, bankrupt of all hormones from the age of 50 to 60. The tank was empty, ladies. It was empty.
And don't you think a lot of these women, I'm friends with a lot of them, are unknowingly operating with a car that has like little to no oil, if we use that analogy, and they might not even realize how bad it is?
Yes. Great example. I use the car analogy in a lot of things. I talk about how we can't function, a car can't function without the right type of gas and having a well-oiled machine. So yes, they are trying to function, which is what I was doing in my 50s, trying to function. I was even still competing until I was 55. I don't know how I did it. I really and truly don't know
You
how I
just
did
have
it.
like so much. I mean, I call that like it's like a superwoman mentality. I have it too, where I look back and I just like forced and pushed and
Right.
I was relentless.
Relentless,
And
relentless.
but then at some point the body says
Right.
fuck you and is done.
Right. Sometimes, right. And going back to the car stops running. She's not even starting up in the garage anymore. She's done. She's like, no, you didn't put the right stuff inside me for me to keep functioning the way I did in my 20s, 30s, and 40s. Now you got to give me more good stuff in order for me to get back to where I felt really, really good and can function efficiently for you. And that's what happens. And don't talk a lot or enough about hormones. And I'm not a hormone expert at all. I do know a lot about it, and I'm not a doctor. So, but what I do know is that I am a woman who functioned without any hormones for 10 years because in my mind, hormones reminded me of all the issues my mom had when she was going through menopause, and she went through it very early, like in her 30s. But there wasn't anybody out there when I turned 50. Remember, I turned 50 in 2000. At the end of
No
2000,
one was talking about hormones.
we didn't even have social media. So we didn't even have social media. So I had nobody to turn to except my OBGYN who put me on a low dose of estrogen. So menopause because of social media and your generation. Well, you're somewhere in between that generation, as we talked about.
I'm an old millennial.
You're an old millennial, yes, and I'm a young baby boomer because I was born in 1960. But it's now there's such a great opportunity to talk about the use of hormones. But there are women Let me tell you, Tiffany, there are women that are my age and older who are like, nope, nope, no hormones for me. I'm just going to age this way. And I'm thinking, that's like saying you have the flu and you are just going to get really, really sick and it could turn to pneumonia and you might die. No, there are answers out there. You just have to find the right person for you. There is no excuse anymore to not be functioning at optimal levels of hormones so you can live your best life. There's no excuse anymore. And women shouldn't be afraid. You just need to find the right hormone specialist. And there are more and more coming out.
I
I
think
have,
what happens is, and I can speak for myself. I, because of all of the trauma, my exercise
right,
addiction, I
right.
was on consecutive birth control since I was 15.
Mm,
So I was a disaster and
yeah.
I was not well. Early on, I was not well. And when you're that tired and you feel like you're just surviving, you're doing everything to get through your day, you're even waking up dreading the day, even activities you used to love and enjoy because everything feels so hard. And it can feel like it is so hard to figure out what can I do to feel better when you're already not your car's already on the side of the road. And it's like it can feel like it's so much work to figure out how can I feel better. I do think a lot of women kind of give up.
I think part of it is maybe they give up because they think the work is going to be too hard and they don't think that the outcome is going to be worth the effort. And I also think that they give up because they give into the old phrase of, I'm old. Who's looking at me anyway? I don't care about having sex. My husband doesn't care. My partner doesn't care. I don't care about having sex. Um, yeah, yeah, this is me. This is me. Accept me for who I am.
And do
And
you
I'm all
think
about
that is
that.
kind of, but do you think it's kind of like they're gaslighting themselves? It's kind of
Absolutely.
bullshit.
Okay, so I call bullshit to my clients who tell me when I ask them if they want to look at themselves in the mirror before they get into the shower and go, I would do me. And they go, no. And I'm like, you had 8 kids. Like, of course you're looking at yourself. Of course you're having sex. Like, don't pretend that you're not a sexual person. Like, I understand some people are very sexual, some people aren't. Some people have a higher sex drive. I get it. But I know that every woman wants to look at themselves and see the beauty in themselves. See whether it's feeling hot, healthy, sexy, whatever it is, but they want to see that in the mirror.
Like see it reflected physically. Because, I'll be transparent as always with you guys because this hormone cycle, when you have other invisible illnesses and comorbidities, you've got to make adjustments. So there was a whole period where I was doing great. Okay,
Mhm.
I'm on low doses of topical progesterone, estrogen, testosterone supplements, da 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 da. Okay, so where I we got the oil functioning, the high end gas, the wheels
Mhm.
on the bus, celebrity fucking, specialist in Santa Monica working on me, all the stuff. But then just like in time, right? Like things change. So I've hit another period where it's fucking way off and I know it. I'm gonna
How did you
probably
know? How did you know it?
I
What did you feel?
I'm emotional about it because it sucks when you've done all the work.
I
I've,
know.
it's not the money. I'll invest anything for my health.
Right.
I've done all the work, and I know you get this, Jodi. It's like I've done all the work, like all the doctor's appointments, sourcing the fucking doctors, sorting through the
Right.
people who are full of shit, da da da. Testing, you have to test things.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was too much of something, and da 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 on all the stuff and then seeing I could feel it in I felt it in my energy level, but I couldn't quite trust that because then I got confused. Is it like my depression, anxiety? I couldn't trust that. Where it became undeniable, truthfully, is the reflection in the mirror. you
Mm,
know, and because of what I do for a living, what you do for a living, right? As like a public figure, as a
right.
podcaster, me being on TV, me being in pictures, me being in videos, you know, I see it as I'm talking to you now. Like I see the inflammation in my face and I see it in the cortisol like area in my midsection,
Mm,
you know, and I see that and it's like a puffiness and inflammation. You know, it's just like I feel uncomfortable in my body.
yep, I know that feeling.
And it is so fucking frustrating because listen, I my there's a reason my brand's named Project Me. I take really good care of myself. And that's what's very frustrating, right? It's like I do all the things
I know.
and now we're here again. What the fuck is going on? Why are we here again?
Right. So I think that we are always going to go through stages in life where we feel really good. And then we need another oil checkup. Maybe we need to change the oil in the car. Maybe we need to put a different kind of gas. Maybe we weren't using premium enough gasoline. Maybe we need to change the tires. Maybe because we've had the car for so long, maybe it needs new interior. So I think that we're always looking at ways, we're always going to have to pivot. It's like life. We're always going to have to pivot. So if something feels crappy in our body, we have to address it. And that's where, it goes back again to that self-awareness. If you're not in tune with your body, if you're not self-aware of what feels good, what your starting point was, what feels good, now it doesn't. The car was running really well. Now it's petering. Now I feel like I don't know if I'm going to run out of gas in the middle of the highway. I don't know. You have freeways out there. We have highways here. And I think we are always going to have to pivot with our health as we age. We always have to look at what we need to edit in our life and edit in our body. And if it means that you are at a point where you need to have your hormones or something else, me, I started hormone replacement therapy not until I was 60. And we started at very, very normal doses. And then I gained weight and felt yucky. So he pulled them back. I gained 6 pounds. I'm like, no, 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 no. I cannot afford to put on 6 pounds. I am 5 feet tall. There's no place for it to go. So he pulled it back and it's been give and take. So now he's giving me more on certain things, but it's been 3 years and I actually feel really good right now, which is a nice thing. So I think as women, we need to always adjust and be open to adjusting, not feeling like it's a failure, right, Tiffany? Because we know that failures are here to teach us something. So if you feel like you're failing yourself, oh, I wish I could be there to hug you. You're not. You just have to adjust.
Thank you for
Oh,
saying that.
you just
This
have
is
to
why I'm like,
adjust.
you guys, this is why Jodi is so special because it does feel that way when you're
I
someone who
know.
like is really
You've
in
done
like
everything.
I don't you guys know I don't half-ass shit. And it's like and then like we can look at people like Jodi. I mean, if you're seeing her right now on YouTube, and I'll make sure, you know, her Instagram or podcast, everything is linked. Her email list is great that it's linked. And you know, you were you were just featured in Sports Illustrated. Like this is a woman who literally it's like an anomaly. And so like I can look at someone like you and go, you're 63 years old and what the fuck, like I must be doing something wrong. Why don't I have that?
You're not doing anything wrong. This is just your own journey and you just have to pivot. Like all of us, we're just all pivoting differently. You're just really hard on yourself.
It's so
You,
frustrating as like women because
it
we
is.
want to do so much and then there's so much judgment, right? Like and
Mm,
pressure on our looks and our bodies.
totally.
And it's
Yeah.
like, then when you're someone who is in the game and you do all the things, you know, and you already do all that, and then you feel like now we're here again and now it's not working again. I can see why women, and I used to, quite frankly, judge women like this. I can see why women, there's a lot, and a lot of them start gaslighting themselves and say,
Hmm.
hey, I guess this is, you know, me aging. This is what happens after
Because
40.
it gets tiring, right? Just as
It's exhausting and
it's
frustrating.
exhausting. It's exhausting. And then we also feel like, well, we're talking about ourselves so much, like enough of talking about, I'm just fuck it all, just fuck it all. But we don't want to really say that. And the women that do fall into that, I don't believe them for a minute. I don't. I
No,
don't.
and I see them, and I know you do too, where you can there's no way they're happy in that situation. And I don't mean it just based on like someone's body type or, their weight or their skin, but there's no way that you can just tell when someone is not vivacious, is not feeling the zest for life. But
Right.
man, does it get tough to stay in the game
It does.
when now there's another problem with the car.
Mhm.
It's like, I want to get rid of the car.
Just recently, well, back in September, I had this issue with my shoulder. So I've never, knock on wood, I've never had an injury of any kind. And so I had to look at it. They weren't sure what it was. They thought maybe it was bicep tendonitis, went for PT rotator cuff, a slight torn rotator cuff. And I said to the orthopedic surgeon, like, why? Why? I'm invincible. Why? And he said, well, women over 60, stuff happens as we get older. And that's why it's even so much more important to be proactive about your health and wellness and to be educated. And that's what my show Fearlessly Authentic is about, is educating and empower women to learn about how they can be the best versions of themselves and step into their power. And you know, without that education, we don't feel empowered. And you educating people every single day on how to build their business, how to be a better person, being vulnerable. You're so strong, Tiffany. And I know that this is just another mountain you might need to climb, and you will get to the top and you will shout, and then you might roll down a little bit, but you're going to get right back up there. And that's life. That's life. But I know so many of us just want to stay up there on the mountain. Can we just stay here for a little
For the
while?
love of God, it's like I've been
Right,
through enough shit. Can we just
right.
like, right? Can we just exactly stay at the top of the mountain? When you boil it down and simplify it, and obviously I know it's not one size fits all, but if you were to say to the woman who feels like the wheels are falling off the bus, and if I only have it in me, to focus on a handful of things, like I can't sit there and take in the overwhelm from 5,000 different experts, all the social media people, eat this, do this. And then they start like actually canceling out each other. Don't eat carbs, eat
Right.
carbs. And it gets so confusing. What would you say when you boil it down? Focus on these things. What are those things?
That's a really, really good question, because there are three different kinds of women. There's the woman who just gathers all this information and then goes into paralysis analysis and does nothing. And then there's the woman who buys every supplement in the world and nothing changes because she's really never changed anything. And then there's the woman that wants the quick fix. So there is three women that I speak to all the time. And what I can tell every single one of them is find somebody that you trust first and foremost and learn from them how to feel the way you want to feel. But if they were to take one step today after listening to this show, I would say go take a walk. Just, I know it sounds really simple, but go take a walk. It is the best therapy. And I know you do guided meditations for walking, and I've listened to them and they're so good. And I took a walk the other day because I drove up to the gym. It was really crowded. I didn't want to go in there. And so I stayed in my car and I walked to the beach. And and I listened to my podcast, which was weird because I never listened to my show because I just don't, and I need to. But I thought, oh, damn, she's a good podcaster.
I think it is actually great to listen to your own stuff because it's like, oh, I'm pretty good at this.
I kind of know my shit, right? Yeah, it's like, oh, so I just, that's the first step I would tell anybody, is start moving your body, especially if you're not used to being active at all. And then as far as diet goes, that's a big, big, big question. It's just not one size fits all. it's really understanding what protein does for your body, what different carbohydrates do for your body, and what healthy fats your body needs. Because, like a car, if you're driving a Prius and you want to be a Bugatti, then you're going to have to change a few things.
I
So
will say
depend.
I have noticed, because you did tell me protein.
Number
And
one
I
macronutrient.
will say, because I can sometimes get away from protein. I don't know why, but
Well,
I
maybe
needed
because you
that.
just don't feel like eating it.
Yeah, it's like it seems like a lot of work to eat it, but I've
It
made a
is.
major focus of that, and I have noticed a difference in a short period of time by
Good.
focusing on
Protein.
the protein.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you really want me to get into it a little bit more, I don't want this to turn into a whole nutrition episode,
Well,
but
yeah, but like at least, we know the walking, but like I think if there's something else, like if you think the
yeah.
protein's a good move.
Well, what you need to do is move your body every single day for at least 20 minutes. And if you want to move your body more, you can. If you're using a treadmill or a Stairmaster or something like that, a bike at the gym or in your home, steady state is fine. You don't need to do a HIIT workout, which is where you get very intense, it's high intensity interval training. You don't need to do that unless you are training for a specific sport and you are feeding your body accordingly. Doing a HIIT workout when you're hardly feeding yourself, you are going to faint and your body's just going to hold on to the fat of the land. So steady state, ladies, get on that. I only do 20 minutes of steady state 3 to 4 times a week. I hate cardio. I hate doing HIIT workouts. I don't do them anymore. That was for my,
I don't either.
after 60, I stopped doing it because it also, for some women, it raises their cortisol levels because they get very anxious about doing it right. So I don't do it, but if I have a client that wants to do that and it's based on the way she's eating and her goals, then we'll do it. So steady state. So walking is great, and also strength training, lifting weights, lifting your own body. Strength training is what is going to help you stay young and feel energetic. You need to have muscle on your body in order to hold it up, to protect your joints, and to protect your bones so they don't become brittle. Well, how do we do that? You can't lift the weights if you're not feeding the car the right fuel.
My guess
Protein.
is you are not down with the intermittent fasting program.
Did we talk about this once before?
No,
Intermittent
I'm
fasting?
I'm I'm selfishly curious
Okay.
what you have to
Okay.
say about it. It's quite controversial. I
It
mean,
is.
either I notice either fitness pros are on one end or the other with it.
Yeah. Okay. So I am fine with people doing intermittent fasting once or twice a month or once a season. Okay. Because if you do it, what goes up my butt is the people that do it every single day. So you've gone to sleep at, say, 11 o'clock, you're up at 7 o'clock. So you've already been fasting for 8 hours. Now you're going to go work out. That's a fasted workout.
This is what I'm
Personally,
doing, by the
I
way.
don't do it. I don't do
Okay.
fasted workouts.
And I started in the last couple of months, I start seeing spots and shit when I'm
Right.
working out.
So listen to your body, Tiffany. Don't
Okay.
do it. When you wake up in the morning, if you're not that person going straight to the gym to work out and then feeding yourself within 30 minutes of the workout, get up and with 1 hour, feed yourself protein, some fat, some starches, and a fruit. And then wait 3 to 4 hours and then eat your next meal. The whole idea behind the feeding schedule, it's like a baby or a car that you want to anticipate when you're getting hungry. The stomach produces ghrelin. Ghrelin then sends a transmitter to the hypothalamus in your brain, which tells you you're hungry. By the time the brain has told you that you're hungry, you're already starving. You want to eat that microphone already. When you have a car, you already see the gas gauge. Oh, I'm on a quarter tank. I better fill up. Or if you are one of those people that I used to be, you get on the highway and you're like, maybe I'll find a gas station. I don't feel like stopping for gas. No, because what's going to happen is you're going to have to car is going to stall out. It's going to damage the car because every time you go hungry, your body is going to think it's in starvation mode and is going to hold on to more fat. So you're actually really, really fucking up your metabolism. If I can just say that on here. I don't know.
I
That's a
no,
big word I just
I
said.
needed to hear that. And there's other people listening to that too.
And
Because
what's happening,
there was a point in time where the intermittent fasting did seem to be working for me.
it's a
And
lovely, right. It happened only for a short while.
it
So
was
it's
for a
like,
short while.
right. So it's like sex. If you're having the same kind of sex
I'm
and
done.
expecting to have the same great orgasm day in and day out, you're like, dude, can you try something different?
Yeah, it's like
Right.
the
I need,
basic
like,
Caucasian sex is not
right.
working
Let's
anymore.
bring in a toy. Let's bring in somebody else. I don't know, whatever it is, but it's like eating the same foods all the time or intermittent fasting. Your body's going, yeah, Tiff, so big deal. And what's happening actually is that you're starving your body. Your body believes it's going to die. So it holds on to the fat and it loses the muscle.
Even though I am weightlifting 3 days a week,
Doesn't make a difference. You're not feeding.
I'm
Your
not
body,
fueling
your
that
car's,
activity,
yeah, your car's running on empty.
which
You're
is
running on
why
empty.
I'm not building the muscle at the rate one would think based on
No,
how I'm training.
no, no.
But
You
you
need to,
guys, like this is why you need to have you know, you can't do this shit on your own. You need to talk to an expert,
you need
and
to
you
have an
can get on
expert.
Jodi's list. Her program is already going on, so you can't get in it now, but you can get on the wait list, and that link is going to be right in the description on YouTube here, right inside the show notes. And I know my audience will kill me if I don't ask you this. If you're not
What?
comfortable talking about, which I'm pretty sure you are, because I feel like I've heard you talk about on your podcast,
Okay.
the answer to a lot of women who are like, I want my old body back. Like, I want to feel good. And I'm doing the workouts and I feel like I can't do anymore. Now, since we're being marketed with the Ozempic land and every derivative, I'm talking where it's crazy here. I mean, like, I
Is
see
it?
ads every day on TikTok, on Instagram. You do one telehealth and talk to someone for 2 minutes, they'll send it to you in the mail and you self inject.
You don't
And
even have to talk to a person anymore.
exactly. And I have friends and people I know, and this can be triggering for me,
I
where
know.
I gotta tell you, I mean, they look fucking good. Okay.
Hmm.
Now I've not seen them long term, years
Right.
out,
Right.
but they look good. And so then I start, that sounds tempting to me. And I'm not diabetic, you know, I don't have those kind of markers. What are your thoughts? Is this like another fen?
It might be. It might be. What I've read about and what I've heard about, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts and read a lot of information that this is great for people who have had a hard time losing weight. It is great for people who are obese, and it's helping to reduce the obesity in this country. And we do have an obesity problem. If you are a skinny girl or you're not obese, you shouldn't be on it. Now, they haven't found any long-term problems with it yet, and the drug has been out for about 20 years. But now new drugs are coming in for just weight loss only. So I would suggest that unless you are a diabetic or you are morbidly obese and you've tried everything, you shouldn't be on it. We don't know the long-term effects. We really don't. To be used the way it's being used. Before, it was being used for diabetics.
It's very tempting, especially when you see even public figures like
Hmm.
is it Kelly Clarkson?
Oh my
I
God.
mean, Oprah. I mean, you're like, oh my God. And look at how
Right.
fast this worked. And it's very tempting, especially when you're kind of tired. But would you agree that'd be like having kind of like a car that needs a lot of work, the engine needs to even be replaced, so to speak, but now you're just getting a paint job? Was it kind of like a mask? Because if you have a hormone thing, just as an example, you
Hmm.
have hormone imbalances, but yet you do this injection, you're not fixing the hormones.
No, and what's also happening, so this is the problem with it, is that you lose the weight because you're not eating as much food, right? That makes sense. So if you're not eating enough food and the food that you are eating is not nutrient enough for you, then what happens is you lose your energy. You're not going to the gym. You don't have the energy to lift weights to build or maintain muscle. So you just become a skinny, fat person. And that is where the medical problems will begin. Now, it also has an effect on motility of the gut. So you do experience constipation
That is
because,
truly what keep that and the two black box warnings are what
mm-hmm,
truly stops me when I'm tempted at 11 at night and I see an ad.
mm,
Because I mean, I really am not interested in being constipated.
no. And the older we get, the more fiber we need. And it sounds funny because when you think about somebody taking Metamucil, it's usually for an old person. But as you get older, that that motility, having being regular every single day does become a problem, and you need to amp up your fiber because it helps with digestion. So it does cause those issues, and that's not good. I also read that if you're on Ozempic or some other kind of semaglutide, that you shouldn't be taking it if you're having some kind of anesthesia. So I don't know if a lot of people know that. I read that.
Yeah, I have a friend who just had rhinoplasty and a
Mm.
blepharoplasty, and they required her to
Oh,
stop.
they
I can't remember how many months
thinks
because just like we're not supposed to eat, I think it's 24 hours prior to surgery
right,
because of the anesthesia. Like you can aspirate because of how much it slows down your
right.
digestion. I think she even had to stop, I want to say it 6 weeks or more
I heard six
prior.
weeks. I heard 6 weeks. So the thing for me being in the position that I'm in is that if I had a client who was on Ozempic, she wouldn't have the energy to lift the weights that I need her to lift, nor would she be able to eat the food that she needs to eat to lift the weights to build and maintain muscle. So it, I can't do anything for her.
And knowing, I mean, I live in LA, so
And
knowing
muscle
how many
is
people are
is the
on
order
it,
to longevity, right? Everybody in
yeah.
LA is. Yeah.
And they all say the same thing. They're too nauseous to work out, or because they're losing weight, now they don't have the motivation to work out because they kind of have this thing that's making them lose the weight.
Well, check
So
out their ass. Check
then they
out their
don't
ass.
go. No, I see it. That's why plastic surgeons are making so much money because they're going in and having to get facelifts and things
Mhm.
lifted
Right.
because there's not the muscle there to hold up those structures.
Right. And the older you get, the more like you fell through your asshole you're going to look.
Note to self, people.
Note to self, if you want to look like you fell through your asshole, take Ozempic when you're 60 or 70 years old. But the real fail for me is it has shown that there is an improvement in blood panels after taking Ozempic. So there are some positives to it. I would say the negatives to it for me would be that you're not eating enough to maintain the muscle mass you have, and you will become a skinny fat person, and you will fall into yourself and become dependent on other people, and you'll be constipated.
There you, there you have it, people. That's that's where it goes. And I want you to take away from this episode, but besides like the practical stuff that she gave, it's a different way of thinking about getting your groove back, so to speak. I mean, you heard how vulnerable I was, and it's like, and Jodi knows me. She know. Listen, I might have a day where I'm like, fuck this. I'm gonna leave the car in the ditch. Like I don't care anymore. But like we know that's not true, right? And you're allowed to have those feelings. Those are real
Definitely.
feelings. It can be tough, man. It's tough in your 20s, it's tough in your 30s, tough in your 40s. Jodi's saying it's tough in your 60s. It's tough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there are challenges with every decade, with every year. Each year it gets harder and harder, but it's the way you look at it. Are you lucky to still be alive? Are you still lucky to be independent and getting up out of your bed and walking your dog or going to the gym or drinking or eating and fueling your body with healthy foods? If you are lucky enough to see the sun and for you to see the beach, then it's a good day and life can't be that bad. But write down what it is that you want to accomplish. Write down how you see yourself 5 years from now. I have a vision board and I look at it and I accomplished some of the things that I put on there. And my daughter looked at it and she goes, "Oh, your vision board is such a Capricorn vision board,
I
Mom.
love my
It's
Capricorn.
it's not supposed to be like that, Mom.
My
It's supposed to
theory
be
on
a
a
vision."
Capricorn is you guys are as unwell in the mind as a Virgo.
Yes, totally, totally. And I love my Virgo girls. Love them. I don't like Virgo guys. I love
Oh
Virgo
God, a
girls.
Virgo guy. That's never happening with me.
No, no, no. So I would say that really, Tiffany, this it's a mindset. And yes, we can have our pity party for ourselves for a day, but just don't stay in that pity party for too long because there's help and there are people you can reach out to. There are doctors, coaches, people that can help you get out of that funk. You don't need to stay there if it's important to you, right? If it's important to you, what is important to you? How do you want to age? How do you see yourself aging? If you're 35 or 40 years old, what do you want to feel like and look like when you're 60? Because the way we present ourselves to the world has everything to do with the way we feel inside of ourselves. And I know that because I went through times where I was projecting feelings I wasn't proud of. And it was probably in my mid 50s when I was probably at my like funkiest hormonal fuck ups, imbalances. And I was aware of it and I drew out of it. I sought out help because I didn't like being that person. And I found there were times where I found that I was isolating and it's okay. We have to be compassionate. We have to tell ourselves it's okay to have a bad day every once in a while, not every day. And it's okay to give ourselves some grace and compassion.
And you don't need to do this alone. There's no reason
No,
you can't go for a walk. Listen to her show, Fearlessly Authentic. It is filled with incredible information and will have you thinking in a different way about your overall general health, as I'm sure you've already gathered from the show. Go get on her wait list. You can follow her at all the things by going in the show notes or in the description here on YouTube and share this show with someone. Share this episode, somebody who you know is complaining to you, isn't feeling right. I wish there was an episode like this when I was really sick. It would have done everything for me. I would have felt validated. I would have felt hope. I would have felt seen and give someone that gift by sharing it. And you know who the person is that's coming to your mind and trust that. Thank you for coming on.
beautiful. Oh my goodness. Thank you. This was really nice. Love you.
Love you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.